Look at that Hemi, boy.
What's up, guys, and thanks for stopping by. Today we're going to be upgrading the charging system on my 05 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Ever since I got the sound system installed in this thing, it has refused to start without a jump. I've owned this car over a year and it's never died on me and left me stranded. I work out of the back of my Jeep a lot, so I'll leave the lift gate open for hours at a time with the lights on, headlights on. It's never died. The first day that I got the sound system installed, it refused to start. I also noticed that the interior lights and the headlights were flickering when I was going down the road, especially if I had the AC on as well. And the last thing that I noticed is that the subs were clipping pretty badly. And if you don't know what clipping is, it's when your sub doesn't have enough power for what it's trying to play. So basically, I was starving my subs. It's also a great way to blow your subs. If you clip them and play them too loudly, it causes damage. So today we're going to be taking care of all that. We're going to be upgrading the factory charging system. Let's get right to it.
All right, guys. So we're about to do the alternator install on the 05 Hemi. This is our new alternator right here. It's a high output alternator, so it's 250 amps, I believe. And as you guys can see, I've already run the new cables, but I'm going to show you how I did the upgrading charging cables. So first up is to get your alternator. That's all you're going to need to change the alternator. If your belt isn't good, go ahead and grab your new belt as you're putting it on. Guys, just to be safe, I went ahead and took off the positive and negative terminals. I'm using this little rubber bit to keep it from touching the terminal, making connection. And next we're going to take off this air box, and that's just one 10 millimeter right there. You're going to need a socket extension, and then these two worm clamps, which you can use either, I think, 8 millimeter, or you can just use a flathead and just turn them out with that. And that's what I'm going to do. We're just going to pull this air box out of the way. Just twist those worm clamps out. You don't got to unscrew them all the way, just get them nice and loose. And let it come off easy. And then slide forward. You want to pull towards you first, and then up. And lastly, there's this connection right here that you're gonna wanna. The way it works is there's a rod that goes through here. That rod there. So you gotta slide it towards you to get it off first, or else it won't work. With the top of the airbox and the filter removed, next we're gonna have to move this coolant tank and the bottom of the airbox, the base of it. The bolt that holds this on is right there, but in order to get to it, you have to remove this coolant reservoir, and it's just this one bolt. And this is like a finger screw kind of thing. I don't know what that is. And you don't have to unhook the coolant lines, which means you don't have to drain your coolant. Leave the line connected, and you can slide it far enough back to be out of the way. This box right here has to be completely removed, so after I move that, I'll go for this bolt. So both the coolant reservoir and the air box are 8 millimeter bolts. So just take your 8 millimeter. Those out. This one right here, you just unscrew with your fingers, and then slide it forward and then pull it up. Once it's up, I've got enough room to move the reservoir. Right there should be fine. I'm gonna take these two bolts and put them back where they go so I don't lose them later. Take this 10 millimeter bolt out here for the air box. Where it gets tricky is this part of the air box right here. This is the front air down. It pulls cold air from right behind the grill up here. And if it's snapped all the way into place, it's pretty difficult to get out without pulling your front grill off. Mine, I did manage to get disconnected, but I'm going to take my grill off and show you guys how to do it if it won't come off, just in case you guys have trouble with it at home. So, Pull this grill off is nice and easy. It's just push pins, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's supposed to be 2 more here, but I lost those, so. Just pull that grill towards you. It's got some push pins behind the back. They just kind of unclip. We'll set that over there. You're just gonna wanna pull towards you. I would say finagle it out a little bit, but honestly, there's no need to take it completely out. There's plenty of space. So now, this air box has a push pin down there. You just grab it and pull straight up. You're gonna have to give it some force. Just like that. You're also gonna want to remove this engine cover, just to give you some more space to see what's going on down there. We'll set that off to the side. And as you can see, I've already run my wires for my big 3 upgrade, but I am gonna go through running these with you guys. Basically, you're just gonna wanna run from battery to the alternator, from battery to ground, and then from ground to any part on the engine block. Actually, I chose to ground mine on the alternator, but I could have used any of these metal bolts to ground it. Why did I do this? When you upgrade to a high output alternator, your factory wiring, this thin little wire here, it doesn't carry enough current for how much that high output alternator is putting out. So you need thicker wires. I went with 0 gauge. That's what I found near me, and I overpaid for it. So get some 0 gauge welding wire from a welding supply shop or something like that, and save yourself some money, please. I just had to put wiring connectors on them. This is a factory ground point, so I didn't have to drill that. I bought 9 foot of wire, and I used about 4 feet right here. This one is going to go down to the top mounting bolt on the alternator. As you can see, it follows the factory harness for the injectors and everything through here. This one goes to the positive connection on the battery and the positive connection on the back of the alternator, which is the screw. It's going to screw in there. It follows the factory power wires from the alternator over the intake manifold, down, and then right into here. This one is battery to chassis ground, and honestly wish I made this one a little bit longer. Both of those are 4 feet, and I have 1 foot left to work with, but I chose to cut this down to 6 inches. Now we've got plenty of space, and we can get right to that alternator there. The alternator's held on just by 2 bolts up there at the front. There's 1 down here at the bottom, right there. And there's 1 up here at the top, which is right there. Before we get started loosening any of those bolts, we're gonna have to take this serpentine belt off. The tensioner for these 05s are right there. You just take a 3/8 inch ratchet and stick it right there in that hole. And you're gonna want to pull it towards the driver's side. So next, you're gonna want to take a 15 millimeter socket and get started taking off these bolts for the alternator. So get it in there. Break it. And this thing will zip it out. But before I take that top bolt all the way out, I'm gonna go ahead and crack loose the bottom one. Just gonna pull both of these bolts out. This one is the short one. The short one goes on the bottom. Alright, I had to do a little bit of fighting with it, but I got it moved over here where we can get to those wires nice and easy. Once you've got it to a position where you can work with it, you're just going to want to pull off this harness connector. You might need pliers to take yours off. Mine came off pretty easy. And then next you're going to want to take these wires off. And that thing is out of there, guys. Let's check out the old one compared to the new one. Look about the same. They match up, so I'm sure this one will fit in there. The only difference is this one is a high output 250 amp. The stock alternator is 160 amps, and it's not doing my sound system any justice. Alright, so we've got the original alternator completely removed, sent to the side. It's time to put the new one in. So first, we're just going to set that down in there. It's just gonna sit like this once it's mounted. But we've got to get those wires connected first. Alright, once you've got those tightened back down, you put this black cover back over it to protect them. And then you plug this ground wire back in. Next comes the struggle of getting it back on there. So you're probably gonna need a pry bar for this one. You might get lucky and it slides on by hand, but it never does for me. I try to work one of the bolts in, probably the bottom one first, and then try to work on pushing the top to line up so I can get that top bolt through. Don't tighten down the bottom bolt until you've gotten the top bolt. Alright, we got everything lined up. We started with that bottom bolt down there, and then I had to struggle to get this top bolt in, but it wasn't too bad. Make sure if you're grounding the chassis to the engine through this alternator bolt that you go ahead and put that on before you stick that bolt in. Alright, now that the alternator is mounted back in there, the next step is just going to be to put this belt on, which will be nice and easy because I didn't take it off anything else. I'll just give it enough tension to get over, and the alternator is done. Now we just need to start reassembling everything in the engine. Should be pretty easy. We're just putting everything back in reverse order. Everything has been reconnected. The last thing you're going to want to do is hook up your battery terminals, which I just finished doing. So now, all I need to do is go for a test drive and make sure everything's working correctly.
I've been driving the Jeep around for the last couple of weeks, just testing it and making sure everything's working like it should be. The alternator is charging perfectly. The battery never dies. It's always charged when I come out the way that it was before I put the sound system in. The lights don't flicker anymore when the bass hits. I'm completely satisfied. When I was looking for information on how to change my alternator, I was having a little bit of trouble finding, the specifics, the little details. So hopefully this video helps you guys and you can take care of something like this at home. If you liked it or if it helped you out, drop a like. You can comment if there's anything you want to see me fix, and subscribe if you want to see more repairs, upgrades, custom work, because it's all coming up on the channel. But that's all for today, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.